If I had to describe freshman year in one word,
One word.
In one word,
One singular word.
it would have to be eventful.
very eventful.
Exciting.
Evolutionary.
Camaraderie.
Awesome.
Unpredictable.
My freshman year was one of the best experiences of my life, just meeting really incredibly talented, smart, like-minded people right off the bat.
I think one of the best things about the college experience is that we are all going through the same thing together, and that's probably the thing I miss the most.
The first time I heard about the coronavirus was actually during spring break.
At my Asia Club meeting.
I remember seeing like a little sign in the lobby where the elevators are, and it was a COVID-19 informational meeting, and I'm like, COVID-19, what's that?
It wasn't something that anybody really knew how to take seriously. Everyone just knew maybe we should not go out and socialize as much.
We saw that there was a case, I think, at UMass.
They sent out an email telling us that everyone should probably leave.
They would be transitioning all classes to online, and it was discovered that NBA players who had contracted COVID had been practicing at our gym only a week prior to when this was all happening. And it was then and there that we knew that they're not going to keep these dorms open. We're going home.
We're back. And we got a fridge this time.
So I'm a resident assistant here at Emerson. I'm a first year resident assistant, so it is kind of a lot to adjust to, especially with new COVID-19 guidelines and policies that we have to abide by. It's really difficult for us to connect with residents and the entire RA staff just because everything is all virtual and it's hard to see people in person. As a resident assistant at Piano Row, I do get free room and board. I live in my own suite, which is amazing and I love it, but we also have a lot of work to do. There are a lot of rules and regulations and also additional rules and regulations because of this global pandemic that we're facing, but we're trying our best to make sure that all residents are at least feeling like they can feel like this is a home for them and that they have a community here at Emerson.
A bunch of the schools in Boston are closing and going fully online. I know Emmanuel went fully online not just too long ago. That's right down the street from us. And I know a bunch of kids that don't have this opportunity to come back to campus at all. So, I mean, we as OLs have to really emphasize the rules and protocols if they want somewhat of a college semester. Like something is better than nothing.
I can understand that a lot of kids will be back, including myself, are worried and scared. And we don't know what's going to happen with this semester, if we will see it through. But as hopeless as some of this seems, Emerson has bent their back backwards making this semester work. We've spent so much money on plexiglass, on social distancing and masks. We even have kids living in the hotels, and we have classes in the hotels as well. So Emerson has exercised every possible option and turned over every stone to make this semester happen.
So my initial reaction to moving into the hotel was, I was blown away by how nice it was and that the school was able to get us this place. Really, it's This is some luxury living right here, and I'm really excited that I am fortunate enough to be living here this semester.
Being back on Emerson campus was super weird because last semester, we didn't really get closure. We didn't really get to finish off our semester and year. It was like I hadn't left while also feeling like a distant memory.
The most important rule that kids need to follow if you want to stay on campus for as long as possible is the dorm rule, is the sense that you can't have 20 people in one suite this year. You can't just have a party just because it's Halloween and you want to have fun. If you try, you're going to get severely punished. You can get expelled from the school for the semester with no refund. You could spread COVID.
Yeah, you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting others too.
You could spread the disease without even knowing it.
So how the COVID-19 testing process works is that you go to the Tufts Medical Center. When you go in, they have you wait in line 6 feet apart from each other. And once you sign in via your ID card,
we had to take a tissue, blow into our nose.
And then you put the Q-tip up your nose.
Swab each of your nostrils
3 times each.
And you put it in a container, and that's it.
And there's going to be positive tests. They've already made that clear, and that's why they cleared out the Paramount to make it a quarantine zone for the people. And they have the top-notch medical professionals here in Boston helping them out. So I feel safe here. I do.
I want to end on one thing. The students have all the power here. The students have the power to keep everybody safe, to contain COVID and keep it out of this campus, and make sure we have a successful semester that lasts all the way until Thanksgiving. It's up to us.
I'm going to stop and share to put it back to you. You gave us a couple of locations: the apartment, the coffee shop, the bar, right? It's not always going to be a bar. That bar is going to dictate who we're talking about.
In June, we got an email from Emerson with their plans about the future of Emerson during this global pandemic and their One Emerson Flex learning plan, I believe. It was really vague, and the email didn't really describe it in much detail, but they did mention the hybrid learning plan and how there would be some online and some in-person classes. The option to take a gap semester was something that a lot of people were starting to consider at that point.
So when the Emerson plan was first released, I laughed out loud.
It's always concerning when you're trying to make any sort of big decision.
My fall 2020 plans for Emerson changed drastically in the month of June because of that email.
When they first informed us about what was going on, there really were barely any details.
What the move-in process was going to look like, how classes were going to be affected, how, rooming is going to be affected. There was a lot of unanswered questions.
So when I first knew that Emerson was going to at least partially reopen, I fully intended on going back. That was my plan for a while.
We thought about how I could go.
Obviously there was going to be precautions we had to take, and I was willing to take those precautions and follow all the instructions and everything. But there was at least a glimmer of hope that we're going to get to go back and just get to pick up from where we left off.
I've just always been someone who gets sick a lot, and currently I have chronic health issues related to a severe allergic reaction I had about 2 years ago.
I talk about it a lot. My brother has high needs autism. We've always had people coming in for in-home services throughout our lives.
I myself have asthma, and traveling from the West Coast all the way across the country to the East Coast would have been a huge health risk.
I just don't want to risk it, and I think I've made so much progress on my health.
I would feel terrible if my school got shut down and then I had to go home and quarantine for 2 weeks, and therefore be the reason why my brother wouldn't have services for 2 weeks.
That didn't seem like a good option or a safe option for me. So I decided to do online only classes, and I opted for that.
To me, as much as I was struggling at home, I did not think that this was something that would end up being beneficial for me.
And the day before I was supposed to move in, I filled out the form to take a leave of absence.
Our school mentioned in one of their reopening plans for international students that they would have a few partner schools that they were collaborating with so that, we could have in-person classes without having to travel all the way to the US. I remember there was one in France, one in Switzerland, one in the UK. I'm sure there are other ones, but there was one in China in Zhuhai. The school's UIC. My personal plan for fall really depended a lot on whether or not I thought this, Chinese college branch was worth it. And I wasn't given that much time to choose, so I just picked the safe option, which was to take online classes.
Well, there's more people here, of course. In the UIC, there are more students here, so classes are bigger. Also, my day-to-day life is more diverse compared with when I was in Emerson. There's a rugby team here, and then I used to play rugby back in high school. So there are other clubs that I can join. However, compared to Emerson, there's not many crews, film crews that's shooting on the weekend. And that's something I miss a lot.
This semester, I stayed in China and I attend some film crews. And actually where we were shooting, no one wear masks because those places are not big city. They're just like a small town or a countryside. So basically, there's no one wearing masks over there. Only a few places still control it strictly, and it's actually just very normal.
In the US, I think you have to go everywhere with a mask. In China, when you're outdoors, you don't really have to wear a mask. It's really just not that strict. And, we just hang out with friends like we always used to.
We are late to class. 5 minutes and counting.
It seeks to place its objects of study within their time and space. And that sounds, I think, probably very broad, right? But it's also understanding that, for instance, if you're watching a film.
When it comes to the social aspect here at Emerson, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's definitely really hard for everyone. And especially because I have to be like this leader on campus to support others. It's hard to support others when I can't really support myself. We all are going through a very similar conflict of just transitioning into this new world with college and a global pandemic at the same time.
Hi, can I just get a little bit Thank you. Hi, can I get some mixed greens with beets and red onions?
And we're worried about other people. What has been, tell me a little bit more about the challenges. Anyone else? Yeah, Tristan.
I'm gonna just complain a little bit about food here.
I just want to keep going with the same question. Like, what are your plans for next semester, or what's your thought process about next semester? Okay, I'll call on you guys like you're in class.
It expires in August, so I'm gonna be here for a bit. I don't know. My job ends in like 2 weeks, so I'm gonna find something else.
Got it. Gordon, what about you? What are you thinking about for next semester?
I'm just gonna take online. Get rid of my liberal arts requirements, I think, so that when I get back, it's just major courses. Yeah.
How the U.S. handled the coronavirus has not been received very well worldwide, since it is not doing very well. I think a lot of us are just, especially parents, they're just very worried for their kids, and it's this constant conflict that's going on whether or not it's worth it. And a lot of people think there is no way this is worth it.
I did believe that we were going to be in a safer place in January, but I can't ignore facts, and nothing has changed for me. I want to get to a point where people are able to go to work safely, to go to school safely, and I think, of course I want everything to reopen, but I also don't think we can rush it because there's so many lives at stake. Now we're going to spend the rest of this summer texting you on vacation, living next.
Am I personally worried about getting COVID?
Tristan, we need you for audio sync.
Upon hearing that everything was changing and we were all going to be sent home, I think most of us initially cared much more about losing one another than the health implications. And I came to the conclusion that 3 of my good friends, Jackson, Max, and Tristan, were all in a similar situation where they felt like they were going to have a really hard time doing this alone. The cases were surging in New York City, and if you had a way out, you took a way out. And I consider myself really lucky that we have a second residence outside of New York City. This was before masks were mandated, before the term social distancing was a known thing. This was our first week in this new COVID world, and within the first week that we arrived, this weird phenomenon started happening to me. I couldn't taste or smell anything at all. At first, I had no idea what to attribute it to. I didn't want to be neurotic and think that it had anything to do with what was going on. So for the first couple of days it was happening, I completely ignored it and just went about our life in our new home in Pennsylvania. A few days later, a couple of my friends who were with me started exhibiting the same symptoms.
We all showed symptoms of it. I had a huge fever. My friends lost their sense of taste.
And I never got a COVID test at the time because it was so unavailable at that time. So we just waited it out, and a few days later, my sense of taste and smell began to come back. And it was really weird, but we all just wrote it off as just this odd phenomenon that had happened to us. And then, as time went on, we discovered more and more that this really was a sign of COVID. So eventually down the line, I decided to get an antibody test, and so did the rest of my family. And none of them had the antibodies, but I did.
Yeah, I was in the U.S. when all the protests that was started by George Floyd's murder started happening. I went outside and I met some of the protesters, and they told me their stories, and it started feeling like very much like COVID. It was the slow crescendo into reality that we were all plunged into.
Police brutality became more of a topic in Puerto Rico than it ever did before, I would say. And we're just learning about it. Like every week we would get somebody new has died. Just like the images we were receiving, it hit home for a lot of people. It hit home for my dad, I would say. And it's just like adding a pandemic to that made things harder in a sense.
This election is so important because there is a lot on the line policy-wise, but there's also an element of just like the character of the country that America wants to put out there. Just it feels easier to tell your kids you should be a nice person because that matters. You can't just be mean and get everything that you want. Who you are matters. And I think it's a lot more about that for many people.
Everything is boarded up in Boston. I mean, not everything. There's just a lot of stores and buildings are boarded up, preparing for this upcoming election night. I think it's really interesting that we have to board up our walls just because of an election, which is something that technically should be celebrated. But now it's such a huge divide that we're anticipating riots. Election night feels like sometimes I think of it and it almost feels like the end of the world. But like we've already had the end of the world, which was in March. So end of the world part 2. It seems like I'm not really scared. I'm really stressed. And I just don't want anyone to get hurt.
Oh, no, push out. Go like this. Right there, perfect. And then Lily, can you move all the way this way? Keep going. Yeah, right there is great. And then Cassie, can you move this way? Yep. Does this look okay? Yeah. Okay. I'm rolling.
This is beautiful, I guess. It's also kind of scary.
Today we've been on set all day in Concord. We took the train there, and the moment we arrived, we found out that Biden won. It was a very exciting time, and I feel like just a huge weight has been lifted off of my shoulders and everyone's shoulders.
I have never seen so many people in so long.
I've talked about this with so many other people, but it's just insane that it took an entire global pandemic for people to vote, to come out and vote and say something and do something.
U.S. has hit 10 million cases of coronavirus on Monday.
As COVID-19 cases continue to climb across the country, hospitals are struggling to keep up.
Governor Charlie Baker announced a new stay-at-home order for Massachusetts residents.
The United States now accounts for 1/5 of cases worldwide. By Thanksgiving, new cases would be averaging over 200,000 a day. It is
necessary to prevent hospitals from getting overwhelmed. United States drug manufacturer
is warning that the country is entering the worst phase of the pandemic. It is imperative to maintain social distancing, practice good personal hygiene, and wear a mask in public.
So, vacant bed right here. We're in a double, or I'm in a double. And then Emerson provided us with towels and sheets and blankets and stuff, which is really nice. And then, obviously, this is my bed. Didn't have enough time to bring any like sheets and stuff because we only had an hour and a half. I didn't fit it in the cart, but there's a 3-level thing I was talking about. I had to put in the cart.
Oh.
Yeah, so it took a lot of space, and then bathroom. We actually have really nice showers, Roger. I'm not really sure if you have the same one, but.
I mean, no. Okay, look at my very different room. I have a window, desk, chair, desk, 2 of these, bed. Roger.
Nice. That's the highlight of the tour.
Here's the bathroom. You know, I made sure to bring my own double-ply toilet paper.
Yup,
No.
I did the same thing.
No, I had
double-ply toilet paper.
I had Mike buy me toilet paper because I was
what
like,
a guy! What a guy!
I don't think they're gonna let me back in the building. So
No,
I was
I don't
like,
think they are. I think you packed up your stuff for winter break.
What I'm going to do now is basically end class, say thank you to you all, wish you good luck in your travels, and remind you that tomorrow your paper proposal is due. So have a very happy Thanksgiving and a safe one. That's it. Thank you so much for this semester in person.
This semester, I've heard the term "it is what it is" so many times, and I can now confirm that that is definitely the motto of this semester. It is what it is. Just accept it and move on. So it is what it is. If you get exposed and your contact traced, then you are required to stay here for 14 days in quarantine, and that's just what happens. It is what it is. I've talked to so many students, to residents and acquaintances and friends, and it seems like everyone is just going through it. And I just hope that everyone is staying safe and staying healthy, staying strong, mentally especially, because you really just need to have that mindset that you're going to get through this. I'm so stressed out. I'm so tired, and I don't know what else to say.
What's up, everyone? I'm on day 7 of my quarantine here at Paramount Building at Emerson College, and today I'm actually going home to finish out the rest of my quarantine and spend Thanksgiving with my family, which I'm really excited about. Haven't seen them in such a long time. And yeah, right now I am currently packing. And yeah, I'll show you once everything's done.
Once again, spare flight 2677 to Tampa will be leaving at gate 38. 2677 Tampa flight.
they kind of just like left us here because no one wants to work on Thanksgiving, which is like understandable. But then also like we have to stay here. Even though I've tested 3 times negative, I have no symptoms. Like I still can't go on a walk or do anything.
609 to nonstop service to Fort Lauderdale will be leaving at gate 37. Once again, Fort Lauderdale 609.
Today is Tuesday, November 24th. It is one day before I'm supposed to leave, and everyone is already left, especially my friends. It's really lonely here, and I mean, has it ever not been lonely?
Bye, Paramount. Bye, Emerson. See you in January, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Anger doesn't like help. I've been angry like plenty, like I'm angry right now. And like all my anger does is make me more angry, right?
This semester was a really hard time for me, but at the end of the day, I've gained so much knowledge. I've learned so much. I've also lost a lot. There were so many times where I just wanted to give up, but I had my friends and I had this documentary where it just made me feel like people were, I guess, going to be watching something that was real, something that really showed the story of this pandemic. And it's still not over, but I definitely have a lot to look forward to.
We met in the summertime, a couple years before we fell in love. It was wonderful to know you as a friend, but at summer 16, our relation took a bend.
For this semester, I decided to actually take a gap semester.
What I decided to do this semester was actually decided to take a leave of absence.
COVID semester was just not fun.
They were very responsible. I will emphasize that. It wasn't the best. Like, it wasn't the most exciting.
I mean, it is what it is at this point. So we just gotta be creative and make do what we got. So we're trying to make the most of our time here at Emerson during the pandemic. So in that case, we're fine.
With technology now, we can always chat and we can do Zoom. Oh, sorry. Let me redo the question. I gotta repeat that. My bad.
As for now, I'm not taking a lot of major classes. 这个声音挺大的。
Hello.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. The connection got kind of bad.
Connection. Yeah. Okay.
It sounds like we're like at the end of a rope, but we're not. We're actually having a lot of fun. I want that to be clear. We're not stressed. We're a little stressed, but we're mostly having fun.
There we go. That was a good clap.
Here, wait. Actually, wait. Sorry.
Wait.
Technical difficulty.
I guess.
I just like don't. I like wake up every day and I'm just like, okay, like now what?
It's gonna suck because I'm gonna miss you guys, but you know, no offense, but I really hope it doesn't suck.
Yeah.
Like Ted was just like, hey, can you help us out? And I'm like, sure. That's basically all the information I received in my end.
Take care.
All right. See y'all later.
See ya.
Or, yeah, don't worry about us. We're fine.
We're fine.
We're fine.